When Jeff Martin and his former bandmates in the Tea Party opened for Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, the notes were already being written for a new chapter in his musical career. One that would bring even more of his edgy introspection and Eastern influence to the surface. Jeff found a kindred soul in Page and Plant drummer Michael Lee, who shares his views and vision on things like music, religion, and politics. With that foundation from Lee and Toronto tabla ensemble percussionist Ritesh Das, Jeff has built an album that not only rocks globally, in his words, it's packed full of soul. It's a thrill to have Jeff Martin in today's spotlight to talk about exile and the kingdom. Welcome to World Beats, Jeff.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
How does it feel now to just move on and start something new and work with different people?
It feels like a lot of weight has been lifted off my shoulders. You know, there was a lot of pressure, you know, with the Tea Party, and especially in the final years, for us to become more accessible, you know, as far as the viability of commercialism was concerned, right? So, you know, it was just for my soul, for my artistic soul, it was too much sort of straight-ahead rock and roll, you know? And I believe that what made the Tea Party special was records like The Edges of Twilight, which was that fusion of world music and hard rock music. And I wanted to get back to that, you know, so I needed to change everything in order to sort of reclaim that territory. And I've never felt better. So.
What's the main difference from working with a group and then working solo?
Well, I mean, I'm not really working solo, am I? Because, I mean, Michael Lee and Ritesh Das, you know, were, you know, collaborators, you know, as far as the sonics were concerned of this new record. I mean, yes, I wrote all the songs on this record, but I wrote all the songs with the Tea Party, you know, so it's the same thing, but it's just a different name, you know, so I figured if Dave Matthews could have a band, well, I could have the Jeff Martin band, you know, so whatever.
Absolutely. And you were telling me that you lived in Ireland now.
Yeah, yeah.
So why the switch? How did that come about?
I just, after, you know, 15 years of some pretty hard living, you know, I needed to make a lot of changes in my life, and Ireland was a place that's been calling me for a long time. One of my dear friends, Roy Harper, who's a famous folk musician from the 60s, 70s, 80s, beyond. Roy's lived in Ireland for a couple decades now, and I started visiting him back in '96. And every time I went over there, I felt that my soul was sort of, you know, recharged, and my batteries were replenished, you know. And so finally, I visited him the last time was in July of last year, and you know, Roy just basically sat me down and said, you know, it's time for you to come home. You know, the kingdom's calling you. I was like, what do you mean, man? And it's like, but it all made sense. And so once I finally made that move to Ireland, everything changed.
That makes sense. When you just find a place that it's home, you know, you just go for it.
Yeah.
About the Eastern influences that you have, how did that start? How did you get into all that?
It started when I was about 11 years old. I was really into the Beatles, but I was into the early Beatles music, right? And then one of my cousins, who was a few years older than me, he was quite the stoner, right? He brought me, you know, for my birthday, he bought me Sgt. Pepper's, right? And on that record, George Harrison, you know, plays a beautiful song, Within You, Without You, the sitar track, you know, that Ravi Shankar style. And when I heard that instrument and that type of music for the first time, even at that young age, it was almost like the first time that you eat lemon pie.
Oh,
and
lemon pie.
You know, and you get that tang in the back of your ears, right? And for me, it was kind of like in my soul. It was like I knew this music. You know, I've always known it. And so it was this connection that I just continued to explore, you know, throughout my teenage years. And then when the Tea Party finally was formed, I used to try to make my guitar, like tune my guitar in different ways to make it sound like sitars or setarodes or sarangi or, you know, whatever it would, you know. And so, and that was it. Then I finally found all those instruments around the world, and when I did pick them up, I could play them, you know.
Right on. I have a clip here from the very first single, The World is Calling, that you said. I heard that it was all about putting the word out there to Mr. Bush.
Well, it's not necessarily George Bush, because I don't really think he has anything to do.
It's the people, yeah.
It's the people behind him.
Of course, it's the people behind all the time.
Yeah, and the thing is that the American administration needs to realize that, you know, the world is calling, you know, and this, like, their ideology and their views on democracy and this and that and freedom or whatever, all the bullshit, right? The rest of the world doesn't need it and doesn't want it. They want to do things in their own way. You know, America, like the American government, has no right to inflict this onto other people,
of course.
right? So, you know, and I certainly don't have a problem at all with the American people. They're beautiful people, and I've got many great friends in America. But please, America, you know, next time, would you vote responsibly?
Absolutely.
You know? Because,
I
man,
agree with you.
the world is calling you.
Here is the clip, so let's take a look from Exile in the Kingdom. The World is Calling. It's Jeff Martin with a video debut just for you on World Beat.
And how we all doing this evening then? Hey. Jeff Martin. Lovely.
You paint a pretty picture, such a pretty picture, but you're lying, ain't ya, just to save your own. You keep on lying, there's children dying, their mothers crying, screaming. The world is calling, the world is calling, it keeps on calling, and it's calling you. So hear the voices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices, the world is calling you. No more choices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices. A pretty picture, such a pretty picture, but you're lying, ain't ya, just to save your own. You keep on lying, there's children dying, their mothers crying, and they're calling you. Hear the voices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices, the world is calling you. No more choices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices. Would you just care to take a glance at all of the sad circumstance you have brought this world into darkness and torn my world upon you, have torn my world apart. You have torn my world upon you, have torn my world upon you. So hear our voices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices, the world is calling you. There's no more choices, the world is calling you. Hear the voices, the world is calling you. The world is calling you. The world is calling you.
Thank you so much for being here. And you
pleasure.
know that you can come here anytime. I'm going to be here, so we can stop by and say hi.
We'll share recipes on lemon pie. Yeah?
Love lemon pie. Add your name to Jeff's mailing list and check out some fine photos of the recording sessions in Ireland. You'll find them at www.jeff/martin.net. After the break, you are invited to a loud and rowdy Irish Ceilidh with the Dropkick Murphys, and we'll raise a glass with the Planet Smashers.